Guten Nacht. I am Count Mozart, your vampire host extraordinaire, and the only immortal host in the world. Welcome to the Count Mozart Show. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the great American hard rock party band Van Halen. Well, sort of. You should know Count Mozart by now, and what I mean by that is, I don't really follow the path of every other person or every other show. No. Of course, there's a million shows on Van Halen, where they came from and who they are. You know, they are Alex Van Halen, the drummer, his brother Edward Van Halen, the guitar player, Michael Sobolewski, Michael Anthony, the bass player, and of course, the enigmatic and flamboyant David Lee Roth as the lead singer. And I could go into their background of little bands like the Broken Combs or Mammoth or Red Ball Jet or anything like that. Backyard parties in Pasadena, 9. In fact, we're going to start off with someone named Jan. Who? Yeah, Jan. Jan Van Halen was the father of Edward and Alex Van Halen. And what makes this so special, this Jan, was how special he was. Because without him, of course, there is no Van Halen, right? Jan Van Halen was Dutch. He was from Holland. And he was a piano player, a saxophonist, and a clarinet player. And a fantastic one at that. And he in fact, if you want to go hear Jan Van Halen, you just go pick up Dive Down album from Van Halen and go to Big Bad Bill, and that would be Jan on that track. So, thanks to David Lee Roth, by the way. That's a true story. Jan was this great musician, and that's how he made his living in Holland. And then came World War II, you know. And the German war machine rolled right into the Netherlands, and Holland took them over in 5 days. And all the young men were conscripted to join the German army and fight for Germany. So Jan was really a prisoner of war, if you think about it. He was, he had to go fight for Germany. But Jan's musical abilities got him out of, any frontline fighting. He played music for the troops, so that was good for him. But once the war was over, he was a little shell-shocked. And, he had to get away. So he went down to the, Dutch, the Indies, the West Indies, Indonesia, or whatever. And he met Eugenia van Beers, a beautiful woman. And they got married. They went back to Holland. And they had Alex and Edward. And Eugenia was a tough mother. She cracked the whip, And she was the one who said, boys... Let's go west, young men. And they did. They went to Pasadena, California. And, of course, the rest is history with how that all took off down the road. But I'm going to, slow it down right here and talk about Jan again. Because here was this man, think about what he had just gone through, with the war and, moving and, picking up his whole family. And he took on jobs as like a janitor. And, cleaning kitchens and things like this. And, think about that. That's, it's got to be hard on a man. He's trying to make ends meet and take care of his sons and his wife. And also play the music. He still played music. He went out and played gigs and he practiced and all this kind of stuff. And he eventually got, I know Alex would play with him and stuff like this. But the cool thing about this guy was he saw the potential in his sons, Now, Eugenia was more like, hey, you better play that piano. And Edward did. He became like a real astute piano player, and he won awards. He was very fantastic on the piano. And but they're young, and they got into the rock and roll. And the father saw this Jan, and there's a great story where he took them to a music store. And I think he traded in like a flute or a guitar or something like that. And he got Alex a new kit, like a Cooper or something like that, a drum set. And Edward, he got a Gibson Les Paul. Now think about it, it was how much, with inflation, what that would be to this day. Of course, it was like a payment plan, 80% or something like this. And but he did this for his sons. I mean, how great this man was. But, the stories like this, one time he's this Jan is coming back from one of his gigs or something like that, and he had a few nips. I think one of the boys was with him, maybe both. And back then in California, the homes, they didn't have driveways. They had like these alleyways, and you have to get to your house by driving the alleyway. And one of the neighbors had like this like a storage kind of van, almost like a U-Haul kind of thing, one of those type of trailers, And Jan, it was in Jan's way, so Jan got out to move it, and the thing fell, and it cut his finger off. Now, you think, why are you telling this story? There's a reason. I'm going to get back to that in a minute. So now I'm going to turn my attention back to Edward Van Halen. Now, not taking away from anything from Alex, his brother, who was a fantastic musician in his own right. But, even Alex will admit this Eddie had this, this gift from God. There was something about him. And he really took to the electric guitar. And if the electric guitar, was really invented in America around the, something like the 30s or something like this. And, so... the guitar's been around forever. The acoustic guitars, your Hittites and your Babylonia, your Greek, it's in your Bible, it's really, they call it the harpsichord, but the guitar's been around, like acoustically for a very long time, but not the electric. So then, anyway, take a look. Here's a little bit of a guitar right here. And, I want to bite you, excite you, want to make you, wanna taste you, then embrace you, make you immortal like me. And I really do. I wanna bite you. Do you know I wanna bite you? Anyway, Edward was amazing with tinkering with this guitar. If he couldn't make it sound the way he wanted it to sound, he would take a screwdriver and a hammer. He didn't have a router or something, a drill. He would just bang around on it and try to fix this and try to fix that. And later he would put like paraffin wax on his pickups to make them sound different. And but what had happened was Edward became a real inventor. Oh, it's going to lead me back to Jan. So Jan, remember the finger? Jan lost his finger. So, if you play the saxophone, there's valves. They close themselves. But on the clarinet, they do not. And young Edward saw his dad, create this little, invention for the clarinet to help him close it because he didn't have that finger. And then even another thing later on in years, good old Jan lost a couple teeth, and the bottom ones. And, of course, you can't play, the instrument without those teeth. So he created almost like his own dentures with like a white Teflon or something and put them in when he played and took them out when he was done. Heck, good guy, something else, But Edward saw this. So Edward, he had that, So he started, doing these inventions, and he came up with this rest for his. So he would flip up his guitar, his electric guitar strapped around his neck, and he'd flip it up and play it like a piano. And there was like a rest that would go under the guitar to your body, and he patented that, and you see that, and so he did that, and then he not too long after that he changed the tuning pegs. He created a thing for that, so that was another patent. And then down the road it was a D-tuner he created. He invented that, which would would hook up to a Floyd Rose, that tremolo down there, whatever, and would tune it real quick. So anyway, and then down the road he would. He got involved with licensing and doing all his own guitars, and then one called the Wolfgang guitar. Hello? Where'd you get that from? But anyway, he had a son. He had married this beautiful actress, Valerie Bertinelli. She was America's sweetheart and still beautiful to this day. He married her, and they had this wonderful child, Wolfgang. And he named this guitar after him, the series and stuff. And later on came the EVH brand. He was just a wonderful inventor. But again, I go back to Jan. This is where these boys really, they got a lot of this from him. Very important to recognize that, And I met Eddie. We talked, because around this time, I heard of this Wolfgang. I'm like, what? Who's this Wolfgang? Who was named after me, by the way. Now, Edward was Edward Ludwig in Halen. That's I don't think his dad named him. It wasn't Ludwig. It is a variation of that. But it's more like a Louis in Holland. But maybe his dad did. With the Beethoven thing. But I don't think so. I think it was like it's a very popular Dutch name and stuff like that. And anyway, but Wolfgang was Wolfgang. So. And I also met this Wolfgang, but he was sleeping. He will never remember Count Mozart, thank God, because I would have scared the hell out of him. But he had a little Game Boy, I think he fell asleep. This is true. But I really like this Edward. I remember when I did finally meet him, because I wanted to see what he was all about. The piano really interested me, and we chatted, and we got along very well. And I said, what are you drinking there? You got some blood? He goes, no, it's called Smoking Loon. I said, what the hell is that? He goes, it's wine. I said, hey, my God, I take some blood over that. But anyway, Edward, he did have, he has gone now, and, he had squamous, he first started his bad illness with squamous cell carcinoma of the tongue. And, Edward came up with an idea of how he got this. Now, of course, he smoked and he did some other things maybe he shouldn't have done. But he would use these titanium picks and he put them on his tongue. And, he's in the studios and he's doing all this kind of stuff. And it kind of makes sense because a lot of the cancers are viruses, really. And, like a wart, in a way, that's kind of how they operate. And he had a squamous cell in his tongue, round, right where they used to put the pick. And people would make fun of him, say, it had nothing to do with you smoking or drinking. It's like, that's not what he was saying. I hate that stuff about people. They don't listen to people. Edward was a very smart man, Of course, everyone has their things, but their demons, but don't point fingers at people, That's a terrible thing. He was a philanthropist, He put a lot of money into healthcare, by the way. People do not know it. And I'm going to leave it at that because you know what? That's the whole thing about philanthropy and giving. You don't trumpet it. And he didn't. In fact, I think he was used a little bit, to tell you the truth. And I'll leave it at that. He was a good man. Very good man. And an innovator. And he made that band what it was. You had the high vocals of Michael Anthony, but if it wasn't for Edward, who also sang, those two voices really made that sound of Van Halen. They always give Michael Anthony, and he should have credit. He was a fantastic singer. But they're also taking away from what Edward gave to that thing, But anyway, a fantastic band. But I'd also just like to reach out to Wolfgang. I just saw him on the Billy from the Smashing Pumpkins. He was on this show, and of course, Billy's like, "Well, we're gonna talk about you," and they wind up talking about his dad. Look, that's the way it's gonna be, man. You have to embrace that. That's how it's gonna go. Everybody wants to, talk about Eddie, and because he was very well loved, and my advice to Wolfgang, not that he's asking, but who is also a fantastic musician in his own right. In fact, I remember Eddie played some songs for, Count Mozart, and it was he was playing the drums and all this kind of stuff. I still have them somewhere. But it was, Wolf, it goes on to the shows, and yes, he wants to do his own music, and he feels a little bit like he doesn't want to rehash of Van Halen music, his dad's music and stuff. But I would like to say this to him. There's only one person in the world that has that energy. It is the universe gave this to your father and your grandfather and your uncle and you, and you are the only one who can really still give it that sound, and the world does deserve to hear those songs, and maybe you reconsider that some down the road. You can always do your own music, and you can do your father's music to really, even if he would be okay with you not doing it. You know what? The world deserves that. And not that you're asking. I'm just telling you. Because, man, how many people do my music? You think I care? And look at my dad, Leopold. I wouldn't be here without what he did to me. So, embrace that. It's not selling out. If people get a little too serious about themselves. They take everything so seriously. With music, it's all pretty much been said and done. It's really nothing new. I think we're gonna have to go back to banging on buckets and stuff like that if you want the new music. Because hey, look what I did. Ain't nobody touching it. Okay. Anyway, And I want to remind those people, like your Wolves and your, Oh, by the way, what about that episode of the Kiss one? Now, Gene Simmons did go to see them at the Starwood. Van Halen in the early days, that band Van Halen. Gene Simmons saw them in the Starwood Club. They were playing in, California, and he noticed right off the bat. Gene got it. He's like, "Oh, come on, man! I want to take you guys to New York and cut some demos, and I'm gonna manage you. I'm gonna get you a deal." And they did. They recorded. But I think Paul Stanley also was kind of like, Paul Stanley of Kiss was kind of like very pragmatic. He's like, man, I don't, keep them away from Bill Coyne, who was Kiss's manager, and like, I don't know about these guys, they focus on Kiss, that's Paul was about. Paul's very smart, he really kept that band going, but that didn't work out. But right after that, Mo Austin from Warner Brothers and Ted Templeman, also from Warner Brothers, signed Van Halen, and the rest is history. These guys went on to multi-platinum and, sold out the world. They were great. And then Sammy Hagar came in later, another act. Used to be with Montrose. He joined them, and again, they were on top of the world. But, anyway, point is, that's Van Halen, and that's Ed Van Halen, and I really do believe this man deserves a lot more credit than he gets. There's no tributes for him. There's no, there was no big thing for him when he passed away, which I believe is. I don't like leaving episodes on sad notes, but I would like to see that. He really deserves that. There was a drummer, Taylor Hawkins, and he died, and Eddie Van Halen compared to him. But that's okay, folks. But good guy. The other guy is a great guy too. Don't get me wrong. But this is Eddie Van Halen, man. This guy was an innovator. He set the world on fire, if you know what I mean. So, food for thought. And I also want to remind you, artists out there, to go to CountMozart.com. You can reach out to us. Instead of going to some of these, brand name shows, have a little balls, step out of the comfort zone. Step outside of that little box. Come on to Count Mozart. You have a great time, and, let's see what you got. I'll ask you things that no one does, and I'll make it look good, too. And by the way, isn't it a lot more fun? Like everybody goes on to these boring shows to me. They sit there and blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's boring. I watch them. I almost fall asleep. So come on to Count Mozart. You'll never fall asleep. Anyway, go to CountMozart.com. Check out Count Mozart Bites, where I let everything off my chest. Get it off my chest. Let it off my chest. Well, you know what I mean. Anyway, go there and you have a real good time. And I want you to come back real soon, because let me tell you something. I love you all. And we are growing, and we are growing. But I want you all to be good and help each other out, Bad times are around. Make them good times, Good times are ahead. They gotta be. But only if we do this. Love one another, okay? So I shall return. I will see you soon. I promise.